Welcome back to the Law of Happy podcast, where together we crack the code on feeling good and allowing more of what we want into our lives. I'm your host, Lauren Tatner. I'm an attorney, author, wellness arts teacher, and inspirational clown. I'm so excited for you to meet today's special guest, comedian and writer Michael Gelbart. Michael has appeared on The Late Late Show on CBS, Comics Unleashed, and Comedy.tv. He's had 2 primetime specials on CTV and CBC, which have both aired on Comedy Central. He was a writer and later head writer of the Canadian Screen Awards, formerly the Geminis, wrote dozens of sitcom episodes and animated series that have aired on Disney, Nickelodeon, Teen Nick, Starz Kids, and Cartoon Network. He wrote and co-starred in the holiday movie A Very Cool Christmas, which airs annually on Lifetime. Michael performs all over North America, dividing his time between the US and Canada. And Michael's new 1-hour special, Michael Gelbart, All New Smash Hits, is now streaming globally on Amazon Prime. I have to tell you that I was extra excited to have this chat with Michael because Michael happens to be one of my all-time favorite comedians. So it was surreal and such a thrill to hear how he got into stand-up, his advice to those interested in getting into comedy, and his amazing memories working with fellow comedian Norm Macdonald. I also loved hearing Michael's take on how we create our own reality, the power of laughter, and finding the fun in the journey. When I had so much fun doing an impromptu laughter exercise with Michael, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to keep a straight face in traffic again. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Michael Gelbart.
Okay, I'm going to leave the meeting.
Michael, that's funny. So listen, Michael, welcome. I'm so happy that you're a guest on the Law of Happy podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello, happiness lovers. It is great to be here. Thank you for having me, Lauren. This is a real treat.
I'm so excited. I don't even know where to start, but I'm going to just start and it's going to unfold in a fun way. So Michael, you're a comedian and a writer.
You are correct about this. I am both of those things for sure.
I was at one of your shows in Toronto several years ago.
No, Niagara Falls.
I've been to Niagara Falls.
I remember Lauren Montgomery Tatner. That's your middle name, right? No, I just made that up. I remember looking out in the audience and I remember you being in the front row or close to the front row with someone. And I believe that was the Niagara Falls Yuck Yucks. Is that possible?
You know,
I live in Niagara Falls.
I'm from Montreal and I'm back in Montreal right now, but I was living in Toronto for several years and that's where I saw you at the Yuck Yucks at the downtown Toronto location, and I went with a couple of
I remember it differently, but that's fine.
It's fine. You know what? I don't believe in chronological time, so that could have been another reality, but that's a whole other episode.
No, I agree with you about chronological time. In my 25 years on the planet, I have never gone with the natural chronological numbers.
No, it's a human-made thing, so people can keep track of things. So it's all good. So I could have been in Niagara Falls. You're right.
You could have, but maybe you weren't. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? But I do recall being at the Toronto Yuck Yucks location. You were the headliner, and I had never seen a show like this before. It was so funny. Your style is very unique and I just loved it. I didn't want your show to end, literally. I just wanted you to keep getting up on stage and going, because you're very personable. It doesn't feel like you're in a public venue. You feel like you're
talking directly to each person.
Yes, just like this.
Yeah.
That's why I felt comfortable inviting you. That's one of the reasons why I really loved your show. You're so funny. And I just want to ask you so many things, where you draw your inspiration from, how you got into comedy, and where do you want to start?
I want to start with that. Where did I get my inspiration? There was this podcast called The Law of Happy. That's the name, right?
The name of this podcast, yeah.
Yes. And I heard it and I'm like, I want to do comedy now. And I started. And that's not how it happened, but okay.
I want to go back to that after, because that's interesting that you said that, but please continue.
Okay, what inspired me to even start, or what?
Yeah, exactly. How did you get into comedy?
I was 17 and I was attending high school and secondary school, some people call it, and I was attending school and there was a class, English class, and we had to choose something from popular culture and get up in front of the entire class and talk about that subject. So I was very interested in stand-up comedy. So I wrote 5 minutes of stand-up to do in front of the class. So I even offered to go first. No one wants to go first when they do oral presentations, but I said, I'll go first. And I did 5 minutes of stand-up, and then I talked about stand-up for maybe another 10 minutes after that. But I did really well in front of 30, 17-year-old kids or whatever. I know I should have gone later because it was really hard to follow that for anyone else in class, being a normal teenager. So the teacher said, I'm not expecting anyone to be as larger than life as that was, right? So that was the first time I did stand up. And a week later, I decided to do the new talent night at a local comedy club. And maybe 70 kids from school came to see me, and it went very well. So I continued to do new talent night after that. And it blossomed into greater things. So I was already being paid as a comedian while I was still in high school. But I guess I was just inspired by always wanting to be in show business when I was a kid, and loving seeing comedians on daytime talk shows, or anytime my parents let me stay up and watch The Tonight Show or whatever. I loved stand up. And I thought, this is the part of show business where I had the most, it's the easiest one to start from scratch, because if you wanted to act in a movie, you would have to go to classes and then eventually get an agent and then get cast and then hope it all worked out for you. It's a lot of steps. Or an musical instrument takes forever to learn how to be good. But with stand-up, it's you and a microphone, and there are opportunities in almost any city to do 5 minutes somewhere. So you, like, if someone's dream was to be a stand-up, they could make that dream to some degree a reality that same week if they wanted to. It's just you, your thoughts, and a microphone.
That's interesting. I've never heard it presented like that before, because I have a love of the performing arts, and I did theater and film stuff and improv. And I always found that stand-up seemed to me the most intimidating one to do, because like you said, it's just you, the microphone, and your thoughts. And I feel that there's this pressure that people are like, make me laugh. And you're literally on the spot.
It might be the hardest one to get great at or do well or develop your own style. But in terms of having access to it, you won't need to take years of classes. You won't need to hope that a lot of things go your way to even get to try it. With stand-up, you can find an open mic in your city, sign up, and go up. You might not do it well. You might be horrible. But you can find a place to do that if you're so inclined anytime. Yeah.
It's a good point. And so
getting good is a whole other story. If you really want to be a comedian, you're going to make all your mistakes and figure out how to get good at it by going every chance you get to a place with a microphone and an audience. That's the only real way to become a comedian, is find a room full of people where there's a microphone. Yeah.
You bring so much joy and laughter to so many people. What do you do or practice in your own personal life to feel good and to bring joy to yourself?
Sometimes I'll go on the Law of Happy podcast, and that'll make me happy. But that's only one time so far. Yeah. Other times I go to the gym every day and I do my cardio and I do my weights, and I try to eat things that make me happy, and I try to write every day. I don't always succeed at that. And those are things. I love going to the movies. That's one of my happy places. A movie theater is like my church or my synagogue. That's my favorite. I probably go to the movies a couple times a week. What else makes me happy? I like to go to a thrift shop from time to time and find a rare item and go, why is this here? Do they know how much this is worth? And then I'll buy it. That's a little hobby of mine.
Okay. I like to remind myself and people that it's not about being happy all the time. It's not possible. We're human. In life, there are ups and downs, and we experience all the different emotions. But I get so excited and passionate about the different tools that we can use and practice to feel better or feel good and raise our energy and just bring more fun into our lives. And so laughter is one of those tools that I love to practice. That's why I'm so excited we're having this conversation, because you're a comedian and a writer, and you bring laughter to so many people. Like, there's laughter is involved in your work.
Hope it is.
Yeah, oh my gosh. I couldn't breathe during your set because I was laughing so hard. And we'll get into that in a moment. But
okay, I look forward to hearing more about that.
There's something that I want to mention about that. So yes, I want to go back to that. But laughter in general is such a great tool to just feel better. There's so many benefits to laughing. And so on my end, I teach laughter as an exercise, and we call it laughter yoga. So we're choosing to laugh on purpose. We're not relying on our mind to find something funny. It's not relying on humor. But what I find interesting is that even though I'm simulating laughter at first through the laughter exercise, it really works the quote unquote laughter muscle so that I do find more things funny. Can we do a laughter exercise together just so that we can experience it together and people who are tuning in can laugh along with us, see what it's like?
Absolutely not. I will never do a laughter. Of course I'll do one. What I know of about 70 or 80 different laughter exercises. Can you think of one off the top of your head that you'd like to try?
Well, I was going to ask you if there's one that we can make up or come up with on the spot.
I really don't know any laughter exercises. I was lying.
Let's be crazy and make one up on the spot, okay?
All right, you do it. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, you make it up, and I will do it.
Is there a scenario that can happen in a typical day that is annoying, but we can turn it into a laughing experience? Let's say we're driving, okay? We're driving and
we're stuck in traffic.
Yes, that's a good one. Because that can be frustrating.
I think so. It's the worst.
Yeah, exactly. And then we're human, and the frustration and some anger or rage can just start, bubbling up. And then we don't want to go there. It's okay to acknowledge that, okay, we're feeling frustrated, but then we want to move through that energy and let it go if we can, and move up and away from that at a certain point. So we can pretend we're driving, okay? We can pretend we're in traffic. We can hold the wheel if people are
you behind the wheel and I'm next to you? Or who's driving?
Or we can both be driving.
Wait, we're in different cars? How are we going to hear each other's laughter?
Okay, so that's a good point.
We'll be in the same car.
Okay, we'll be in the same car.
And I'm going to be the passenger.
Okay, so I'm going to be driving. So I'm holding the steering wheel. However, I like 10 and 2, like how we're taught.
Why the hell did you take this route in the first place? You got to start from a place of anger, and then we'll find the happy part. Why the hell? Like I told you before that if you take this way, we're going to get stuck. And guess what? Here we are, stuck. What do you think of that?
You know what? I hear the frustration and a bit of anger, but I'm going to just breathe. So because we incorporate breathing exercises with the laughter. So
okay, I'll do it, but I'm still mad at you.
Okay, and I'm going to keep my eyes open because I'm driving.
Okay, yeah, keep your eyes open.
Okay, so I'm going to breathe in. You can join me if you want.
Listen, I'm too mad at you right now to join in, and I'm not joining. Wait a second, what you're doing looks really interesting. I might want to join after all. All right, I'll try it.
We'll breathe in. And
I'm breathing. Still really mad.
I know, yeah. So just you can
You're
feel
the worst.
That's normal. It's normal. We can feel frustrated. Now we're going to breathe in again. And on the exhale, we're just going to laugh. We're going to let the laughter just flow.
Already? Wow. I wanted to, okay. It's so funny how we're never getting where we were supposed to go.
But look, it's clearing, it's moving a bit now, don't you find? The traffic seems to be moving a bit. The more we laugh, it moves. The cars are moving.
I believe that laughter has the power to change a lot of things in your life, but it will not change the movement of other vehicles in front of you.
That I was at a Raptors game. It was when they won the, what do you call it?
The NBA Finals. They won.
Yes, exactly. And I was coaching.
You were coaching?
No.
I would have read about that.
People I was with in our area we were watching the game. So I was just guiding the people I was with, not the players, but the people from work who I went to go see the game with. It was getting tense at a certain point in this game because it was very close, the score. And I said to them, you know what, if we laugh, it's going to help the energy, it's going to raise the vibration, and the Raptors are going to win. So we were laughing, and then things were improving, and people were getting excited around me. So it's amazing what the benefits, so many benefits to laughter. So how do you?
Okay, so are you implying that the game's outcome had something to do with your laughter?
You know what? I don't know. I believe
There's a
anything is
chance,
possible.
right? There's a
You
chance
know,
that it's possible. I do believe this. I believe the outcome of the game would have been the same. I also believe that if it's better to laugh and be happy than not. And if it takes away your personal tension and those around you, then the night was so much better than if you sat there tense, because
right.
you could watch that game in complete utter tension or laughing and smiling, and the outcome's the same, but it's not the same for you. You didn't enjoy it as much. So
Exactly.
what you did was you changed the outcome for the people in the room. Like for everyone in that box, they had a better night.
But it was a lot of fun. It was a great experience. It's amazing, the power of laughter. And thank you for participating in the laughter exercise.
I don't even
And
consider that an exercise, because in my mind that actually happened. I, I like, if anyone ever asks me if I was in a car with you and that took place, the answer is yes, because I really feel like that was real.
it's amazing how that works, eh? The power of the mind. And I believe that everything starts off with a thought or an idea. And I want to ask you about this. Makes me, my mind is jumping around because there's so many things that I want to talk to you about, but it's connected. I read, and it's incredible, that for 2 years you performed in theaters as the feature act for fellow comedian Norm Macdonald, right?
Yes, yes. I was Norm Macdonald's feature act for most of 2006 and 2007. Anytime he
Wow.
performed at a theater or something like that, or did a few nights in a big venue, he would ask me to be his feature act. So I must have done 50 or 60 shows with him over the course of a couple of years, and got to know him really well during that time.
That's amazing. That's
Long car
incredible.
rides, flights. If I wrote a new movie, we've read it out loud together. He had movies, he wrote a movie for him and Rob Schneider to star in together, and we read that out loud together. It was great. It was a great experience, and it was a real loss. I hadn't heard from him in many years, but it was a great time in my life working with him.
Wow, what an incredible experience. And was this something you had wanted to do? Had you dreamed of working with him or
Growing
connecting
up,
with
my
him?
two favorite comedians were in no particular order, or maybe there is an order, I don't know. It was either Seinfeld or Norm were my two favorites.
Wow.
And so when I was 17 and on amateur nights in Toronto, Norm was already on his way to becoming famous. He was a good 14 years older than me or so. And I remember getting a phone call from him when I was 17. He didn't know me, but he didn't know how to drive. So he called me up. He had a list of amateur comedians, and he was like, "Hey, could I get a ride from you to a gig, and I'll give you some gas money, and I'll put you on stage and you do some stage time." And I was like, "Norm, I have a math test on Monday. I can't do it." That was my introduction to him calling me. And then
Wow.
years later, once I moved to Los Angeles, we ended up on the same shows at a comedy club called the Improv. And that's when I told him that story. And then we became friends from that. And then I started featuring for him for a couple of years. And it was the greatest. But one of the things, Norm had talked about some very dark subjects in his act. But when we go to, if you're in a smaller town and you go to a mall with a celebrity, everyone in the mall is very excited that they're seeing a celebrity at the mall. So people would come up to Norm, and they'd talk about how much they love him and how much it's making their day to meet him. It was such a wonderful thing to see how nice he was to each of the people that came over. And so they all had a genuinely great experience meeting him in person. And that
Mhm.
was a nice feeling, because if you watch his act is definitely for a very specific audience. but his way of talking to people he was very sweet with his audience. It was incredible.
That's incredible and amazing that he reached out to you and that you had that experience with him. And Michael, I'm just wondering, because you're saying that growing up, it was Seinfeld and Norm Macdonald who were your
Those are my
favorite
favorites.
comedians.
Those are the ones I liked best as a kid, for sure. Yeah.
So that must have been like beyond surreal when he reached out to you the first time and then reconnecting with him, connecting with him again, and then working with him. Can you recall in your life before that happened, daydreaming or visualizing or thinking, wouldn't it be cool to meet him or work with him? Did that ever come into your mind?
Let me think that over for a second. Yeah, I'm a big believer in manifesting things. It sounds like you are as well.
Yes.
But I will say this, manifestation is deciding for me that you're going to work hard every day towards something. And then opportunities will open up around you based on deciding that you're going to be a person who can achieve those things. But you have to do the work on your own, and then you'll be ready when the opportunity presents itself.
Exactly. It's not about just hibernating the whole time and just hoping things will just happen. I believe what works for me or flows the best is if I first start off with a fun thought in my mind and then getting myself to a good feeling place so that I'm at the right place at the right time. I meet the right people at the right time and things just flow more in a more fun, seamless way that way, rather than it feeling like an uphill struggle.
You're enjoying the process. That's a very important thing to do, because if you're someone who is driven, but in an unpleasant way, where you're very hard on yourself or any of those kind of things, when you get out in the world, they're not going to be meeting a person that they wanted to meet. If you approach all of this saying, I'm doing all of these things every day because I have dreams and goals, and I'm going to be happy about the process, then people will be meeting someone who's already in a good place that they'll want to be around, rather than someone driven in an unpleasant way, which is I've seen that. I've seen people look unpleasantly driven, and you can be both pleasing to the eye and the ear and bring an incredibly good energy to the room while working hard every day to reach those goals. You don't have to do it with a feeling of this is too hard, I hate this is a struggle. Struggle is such a negative word too.
That's the key. Thank you for highlighting that. It's about appreciating and enjoying the journey and where you are now and having fun with the process. And because that's what it's all about. Like, where are we all running to? The fun is in the present moment, if we can find it and appreciate it and enjoy each part as we go along. And it's a practice. There's a special that's out now, right? That's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, there's an Amazon Prime special. I'm going to say the name now. It's Michael Gelbart, all new smash hits, and it's free with your subscription to Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime is probably the second best streaming service, so I'm pretty happy about that. The best one's probably Netflix, but if you think about it, Amazon Prime should be the best one because you can order groceries to your home, and you can't do that with Netflix. You can't. If you decided to contact Netflix and ask them to send you toilet paper, they'd think you were crazy. But Amazon would send it to you, so they're better.
It's actually my favorite streaming service. That's what I use, and actually watched your special recently and realized I was there. Was it recorded in Toronto?
You were at that special?
Yes.
Wait a minute, you watched it? I didn't know you watched the special. That's really nice.
Yeah. Your comedy, your work is so unique and special. I believe you are a comedic genius. I've never heard this type of style and way of seeing things and doing comedy. It's really special. Every time I go to see your show, I just feel amazing. I'm laughing hysterically, and I'm not somebody who normally laughs out loud that often. It's gotten better with my laughter has flowed more now because of the laughter exercises that I do. But all this to say, you're very talented and unique as a comedian, and I just absolutely love your work. And actually, Michael, I don't want to spoil any jokes for people who are going to be watching your special and going to see you, but there is one joke that's on the special that you do that I can't get enough of, and I can just say the title, right? It's I don't know if you know it.
I'll do it, and I'll tell you now because you've mentioned this to me before. The title of this joke, folks, is "For He's a Jolly Good Fellow." Now, and yeah, it's about a 3-minute bit about the song for He's a Jolly Good Fellow. Now, I want to talk to you about that bit for a second.
It's
When I
brilliant.
came to Toronto to shoot that special, now
Mhm.
picture this. What I did was for about a month, I went around, I was in Los Angeles the month before, and I went around doing guest spots around town to prepare new material, trying new material, getting used to the material I was going to do on the special. So a week before, came to Canada, back to Toronto to headline a club to do 4 shows where I ran the material every night. On the first night, which was like a Thursday, while driving home, I was like, this special is lacking one bit. I need one more joke that I haven't even written yet. And as I was driving, the for He's a Jolly Good Fellow bit was I made it up in my head as I was driving home. And then I was the next night while I was doing material I knew would work, I workshopped for He's a Jolly Good Fellow for maybe 7 or 8 minutes. And when you got a not finished premise and you're doing 7 minutes, it was whittled down to the 3 that you know. But at the beginning, 7 minutes of for He's a Jolly Good Fellow, I talked about every possible thing I could come up with about for He's a Jolly Good Fellow, and some of them worked and some of them didn't. And then for the next 2 shows that I did, some of them worked and some of them didn't, and you whittled it down. And by the time I did it on the special, it was probably the 4th time I ever did it in my life. So the whittled down version to 3 minutes didn't exist. The joke didn't even exist about 3 or 4 days earlier. It was prepared, came up with and prepared within 3 days of that. And this is a very interesting thing because obviously a joke like that takes place in the past because it's about the guy who wrote for He's a Jolly Good Fellow. So the joke takes place over 100 years ago, whenever that guy who wrote it is debuting it to people. So one of the original attempts at making it funny, because you try 15 different things and some of them stayed and some of them didn't. But one of them, I told my mom the joke before I recorded the special. And I said, okay, one of them is going to be where the guy goes, I know that it's for He's a Jolly Good Fellow, but women don't matter anyway. So what's the difference? And my mother's like, I don't like that part. And I go, but Mom, the joke is basically that the guy who wrote for He's a Jolly Good Fellow is on the wrong side of history. He thinks that for He's a Jolly Good Fellow is going to be a more popular song than Happy Birthday to You. He's wrong. So he also thinks that women's place in the world is going to remain terrible like it was hundreds of years ago. He's wrong about that also. And she said, no, but that part, the audience isn't going to remember that it takes place hundreds of years ago. They're just gonna be upset today. So I'm like, okay, that line is not going to be in the joke. But it's an interesting thing where if you say something, if you're making a commentary about how terrible things were hundreds of years ago, but you're still speaking to a contemporary audience, they're not going to make that leap for you. If they hear something they find unpleasant, they're not going to go, oh, he's talking about 200 years ago. They're just going to hear something that makes them unhappy now. So it's a very interesting thing about the delicacy of the words you choose and how you say them, and your intention can be lost. You might think you're being incredibly clever, but it doesn't matter if you lose the audience, was your cleverness really did it really matter that much? If no one if you now cease to be someone who says things that they like, it doesn't matter how clever it was in the first place. No, you have to convey something that the audience understands.
So that was really a great conversation that you had with your mom. You guys were very wise to workshop that together.
I don't know. She didn't have any great insights about it other than just saying, I don't like that part.
Oh, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's all I need to know is, yeah.
And actually, Michael, I love that bit or that joke so much that it comes up every birthday. My family, we would always sing for He's a Jolly Good Fellow, and we actually get more excited singing that song versus the Happy Birthday. And now we get even more excited because we all then start trying to retell your joke and we're just laughing. And it also helped me at a Second City comedy class that I did. They told us to bring in our favorite joke. And of course, that is honestly my favorite joke. So that was what I brought in.
Did you bring it in? Did you write it out so you knew how it went exactly?
Yeah, I wrote it out. I tried to deliver it. I did my best delivering it to my class, but I couldn't get all of the words out. I was hysterical, just trying to repeat the joke. And
so you were laughing throughout the joke and couldn't do it.
I was crying laughing. Yeah, exactly. They heard bits when I was able to get certain parts of the joke out in between my crying laughing. I gave them your name and your how to find you. You're very talented. I'm just excited for you and everything that you're doing and everything that's unfolding for you. And so honored that you agreed to be a guest. So I want to thank you so much for being here and sharing your gifts the way you do. And Michael, how can people, or we talked a bit about it, but I just want to mention again how people can find you, and we'll have the links in the show notes.
Let's see here. Of course, on Amazon Prime, they just type in Michael Gelbart, all new smash hits. And if they're a Prime subscriber, it's right there. It's free for you. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Real Gelbart, REAL Gelbart, GELBART. Between those two things, I think we'll be fine. But that's it.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for your time and for being a guest. And we'll say goodbye and laugh and wave.
Can we do a crying exercise before you go?
Yeah. So how do you want to do that? You want to turn crying into laughing, or you just want to cry laugh? What were you thinking?
I don't know. I was only kidding, but I'll do
it. Okay.
Let's do it anyway.
Okay,
I can't believe we're still stuck in this traffic jam. This traffic jam's hilarious. Oh, that was fun.
Thank you so much. I'm glad we did that.
Thank you for having me, and it was a great time.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Bye, everybody.
Okay. Bye. Thank you for having tuned into this Law of Happy episode. If you smiled, laughed, or felt inspired, please subscribe, rate, review, and share the Law of Happy podcast with someone you'd love to have fun with. And if you'd like to laugh with me as a guest on the show or in a customized program, you can email me at lauren@lawofhappy.com. I look forward to laughing with you soon.